Terry Francona, the Cleveland Indians manager, that was the famed Scottsdale Scorpions of the Fall League. And Terry, a lot of folks enjoying watching this documentary and, of course, your time with him down there in Birmingham and then in the Fall League in Arizona. And I want to talk about that. But let's talk about what's going on in the current day, because we had some news about the possibility of baseball getting back. How involved are you in the discussions about sort of what might happen, Terry?
I mean, our organization, the guys, Chris and Cherney, the guys running the Indians, have been really good about talking to us about not only what's going on in baseball, but just trying to keep us all together and connected, because it's kind of an unsettling time, as we were talking about before. So I think our organization's done a really good job of communicating with the players, but not only that, but communicating among ourselves, and they kept us in the loop pretty well.
We understand that business is business, even in the midst of a very serious, unprecedented time. And each side has their situations they have to sort through. But as you talk to your guys and as you talk to the organization, are you optimistic that they'll figure out a way to get back together and hopefully play some baseball in July?
Yeah, Scott, I really am. I think, again, I don't think you can necessarily take to heart every single thing that's said in a quote in a newspaper or online.
Of course.
The Players Association, the owners, everybody's trying to leverage whatever they can. I think all the parties involved are smart enough to know that we need to have baseball be a celebration of sorts rather than a PR nightmare. And I think people are smart enough to know that.
Every coach, manager I've talked to, I smile as I ask the question, because I think you all are so good when you're in control of situations that you can, your job title is what you do. You manage. It's hard to manage, I got to believe, when you're doing what you and I are doing, talking through a phone. How have you handled that, Terry?
Probably not as well as, we have no practice for this.
Sure.
We have done some interesting things. We did a coaching exchange with the Pittsburgh Penguins staff. We're still doing it, actually, and it's been fun, and it's been enlightening. The other day we were getting off the call, and I wanted to get Sergei Gronchar's autograph, but listening to Mike Sullivan talk, it's really been fun. And we've done stuff with the player development guys in our minor league system, some give and take and ideas. So we've had some fun with it. There's things we would never be able to do if we were in the middle of our season now.
That's really interesting about the Penguins. I mean, obviously the sports are totally different, and yet I imagine the common ground is what you find. What's been most interesting about that?
Just listen, because hockey for me is so foreign. I mean, I just didn't grow up watching it that much. But I know how much success Mike Sullivan and his guys have had. And then to listen how they talk about treating their players, analytics, all kinds of things. We've had breakout groups. It's really been enlightening, and we're going to continue to do it as long as we can, just because it's fun.
And when you do get back to baseball, and I think we need to be optimistic that will happen, I believe ultimately we will. It'll be different, and yet it's a 9-inning game, and I suppose that mostly it's the same. I mean, can it be the same strategy, I guess is what I'm asking, when everything about what you typically would try to be shooting for is altered?
Scott, I think to your point, if we're fortunate enough to get back to playing baseball, and I agree with you, I'm being optimistic because I really do think we can. I hope we do. I think we need to take our complaints and shove them in our back pocket.
Right.
And regardless of whether there's crowds or whatever, we need to, like I said, try to treat it with so much respect, almost like a celebration, because I think baseball can be really good bringing back a sense of normalcy to our country. But it's not the time to complain about stuff, and that wouldn't go over real well.
Okay, you keep that in mind when Blue squeezes you on a 3-2 call, right? You keep that in mind.
No, I wasn't talking about the umpires. I was talking about the other stuff.
Of course, they get their own special place on that list. I get it. Now, we brought you in obviously on that Michael Jordan triple, and it's fall ball back in the 90s, and we saw you talking about him back in Birmingham, and I think for the younger folks that had no idea, and even for the older guys like me, I'm reminded, my God, he really did this. When he got there, your expectation of what he could be was what?
I honestly didn't know. And one of the first things I asked him was I said, hey, for this to work, you've got to respect what we're doing and the game, because that was important to me. You know, I had 24 other guys that had worked really hard to get to the AA level. They weren't making very much money, and that was important to me. And I'll tell you what, and that's why it worked so well. His respect for the game and the people in the game was so refreshing, and it's why we enjoyed him so much, and it's probably why I felt the need to be protective of him, because you know a lot of people were getting on him about playing baseball, and he was so respectful about it that I just really appreciated that.
It was his first love in many respects, as he talks about in the documentary. He grew up in the game. Had he taken that path, had that been what he focused on, do you believe that he could have been like a major league player?
I think even if the way he did do it, if he'd have been willing to commit 3 years, I think he'd have found his way to the major leagues. I really believe that. One, because of some of the tools he had, but the other one, and maybe more important, and I found out firsthand, when you tell Michael no, he finds a way to make the answer be yes. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. He is really good at that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.